Welcome to the Sedgwick Jimmy channel. This is our first video. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully we'll have many more to come. This is actually a weird little concept I came up with that I like to call, as you can tell from the title, History and Dishes, where basically I sit here and talk about history while I'm doing the dishes. It's good stuff. And yeah, I'm kind of practical like that, so yeah, gotta love it. Anyway, yes, Buccaneer means Jerky-Maker. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, how in the hell does Buccaneer become Jerky-Maker? Well, that traces back to Buccan. Buccan was both a form of smoking and actual name of the meat that was used by the Carib people of the Lesser Antilles and northern South America. Pardon me. And basically, they would smoke the meat into modern-day beef jerky. This was kind of a passed-down type of cooking method, and it was actually picked up by French settlers in the Caribbean. By the way, we'll get back to the Carib people here in a minute. Now, these French settlers, mostly woodmakers, craftsmen, things along those lines, were settled amongst the Caribbean islands, and eventually the Spanish came in and started kind of pushing them around. Started pushing them out, in fact. They weren't the only ones. The Spanish actually pushed Dutch, English, French, pretty much everybody. Pretty much pushed them towards the island of Tortuga. Now, some of you may have heard of Tortuga. Yes, that Tortuga, as in the one from the Pirates of the Caribbean. And this is actually kind of the creation of Tortuga. It kind of became a no man's land, or a safe haven for all, basically because of the Spanish. I know how much we love to villainize the English, but no, this time it was the Spanish. So basically you had groupings of French, English, and Dutch settlers that have been forced onto this island. And one of the things they brought with them was Buccan. They brought with them the cooking of beef jerky. Now, Buccan, like I said, is what the Carib people called it. It's also what the French called it. However, it's not what the Spanish called it. The Spanish actually referred to it as barbacoa, which some of you may recognize from, modern Mexican food restaurants. But it's also where we get the word barbecue. So yes, the origin of barbecue comes from good old-fashioned jerky makers. By the way, I'm sure you're probably sitting there wondering, well, what the hell are they making jerky out of? They're stuck on this island. Well, the great thing was there were a lot of feral animals on the islands. Primarily pig, goats, things along those lines. Now, one thing people greatly underestimate is the importance of manatees to the history of beef jerky. Extremely important. In fact, the majority of beef jerky originally of this Buccan that was made was actually made of manatees. Manatee, I mean, they're easy to catch, they're rather plentiful. Why the hell wouldn't you turn them into beef jerky? So yeah, manatee jerky was pretty much the norm back then. Now, as far as, so how did Buccaneer come to mean, basically like a pirate? I mean, I'm pretty sure Tampa Bay didn't name their football team after, a bunch of jerky makers. Well, that actually comes from, sorry about that, moving some stuff over into the sink here so I can clean it. Got to soak for a second. That actually comes from them being pushed a little bit too far. And when it came to being pushed a little bit too far, they saw these privateers out there that were working for the crown. They saw these pirates that weren't working for the crown. And so Buccaneers decided, you know what? There's privateers here and there's pirates here. There's this weird gray area. That gray area, pardon me, is where Buccaneers come in. They were the gray area. Basically, the crown didn't quite say they were okay with what they were doing, but at the same time, the crown was okay with what they were doing. So they were that interesting little gray area. They weren't pirates. They weren't privateers. They were Buccaneers. And actually, they weren't even called Buccaneers at the time. It's a little fun, interesting fact. The word Buccaneer, as far as referring to the gray area pirates, actually did not come into parlance until over 100 years later. when a book was actually published referring to those Buccaneers. at the time, they didn't even refer to themselves as Buccaneers. The Spanish, the French, and the Dutch all had different names for it. Cool little fact, the French name for it is actually the root for the English word filibuster. Filibuster, of course, being a mercenary that is hired by a government in order to conduct military operations in a foreign country that they're currently not at war with. Typically, when it comes to revolutions, we use the crap out of them before the Mexican-American War. We kind of used a lot of them during the 80s too, but yeah, whatever. So, you had these Buccaneers going around sacking, taking ships, taking on whoever they could, killing manatees, making beef jerky. And eventually, they ended up, or some of them at least, ended up joining with Captain Morgan, or Sir Admiral Henry Morgan, as he's actually technically known, on his raids against Spanish ports. Fun little fact, there was actually several ships of these jerky makers along the way when Morgan's forces captured and burned Panama City, the capital of Panama, to the ground. Yes, that's right. There was a pirate army that burned a capital city to the ground. Ain't history grand, folks? So, basically, you have a bunch of jerky makers who got their idea from the Carib people. By the way, the Carib people, as in the Caribbean Sea. By the way, Caribbean Sea technically means cannibal sea. The word Carib means cannibal. The Arawak word for the Carib people is actually the base for the English word cannibal. So, yeah, they were tad on the ritualistic cannibalism side. But to be fair, at that time, especially with native tribes, it wasn't too far out of the question for any of them. Cannibalism's been known for thousands of years. Hell, one of the oldest humans we've found actually has, their bones are actually rubbed smooth in certain areas because they were in cooking pots. Hell, one of the oldest ones actually has a wound to it, so we know it was murdered. But whatever, we'll get to that later. That'll be a different video. Captain Morgan actually led a pirate / buccaneer / privateer army and actually burned the capital of Panama to the ground. Spanish weren't very happy about that, but at that point, Spanish weren't very happy about very much when it came to the New World anyway. They weren't really getting that sugar money like they used to, and that's probably going to be another video when it comes to sugar, because holy crap, sugar was profitable. In fact, sugar was actually so profitable that it is the reason for the transatlantic slave trade. Now, I'm probably eventually going to do a video just on that and how we could pretty much just kind of blame the Portuguese for that whole thing. But yeah, that's something that'll be coming down, the pipeline, if this tends to work out. Hopefully it should work out. So yeah, Buccaneer actually really does just mean jerky maker. A lot of people are kind of surprised by that. You wouldn't think, Buccaneer means jerky maker, the Tampa Bay jerky makers. But yes, Buccaneer actually does mean jerky maker. So yeah, hopefully you learned something on that. It's kind of a short video, but it's the first video, not the best, quality or anything like that. But I'm working on it, and hopefully if I can get, if anybody has any constructive criticism or perks or any kind of ideas, I'm more than willing to listen. Hope you enjoyed my short little conversation here. Hopefully in the future they'll be longer, and like I said, a little bit better quality. But yeah, hope you enjoy Sedgwick Jimmy, and stick around. We'll have more out for you.